So this part starts with a picture, starts with a very introduction with this picture. This picture is very important, right? Here we can see each and every people, they carries a flag, they carries their identity and marching towards the Statue of Liberty. What does it shows? Who painted this painting? Let's see. So in 1948, Frederic Soriot, a French artist, prepared a series of 4 points visualizing his dream of a world made up of democratic and social republics. So he called his painting as Democratic and Social Republic, as he called them, right? The first print of the series shows the people of Europe and America, men and women of all ages and social classes, marching in a long train and offering homage to the Statue of Liberty as they passes by it. As you would recall, the artist of the time of the French Revolution, you have read French Revolution in the previous class, you must have recalled that the liberty was personified as a female figure. Here you can recognize the torch of enlightenment she bears in one hand and the charter of the rights of men in other. On the earth, in the foreground of the image, lie in the shattered remnants of the symbols of absolutist institutions. In Soriot, utopian vision, it's a vision, it's a society based on moral conduct, right? And it is an ideal society. Utopian society means it is an ideal society that it is very hard to be on practical. The people of the world are grouped as distinct nations, identified through their flags and national costumes, leading the processions way past the salute of liberty are the United States and Switzerland, which by this time were already nation states. So this nation states, the idea of nation states, you already know that you have read in French Revolution and socialism in Russia and Russian Revolution, you have all read in the previous class. France identified by the revolutionary tricolor, we all know it was a tricolor, right, has just reached the statue. She is followed by the people of Germany bearing the black, red and gold flag. Interestingly, at the time when Soriot created this image, the German people did not yet exist as a united nation. They were not at all united. Germany was not at all united at that time. It was under some influence. The flag they carry is an expression of liberal hopes in 1848 to unify the numerous German speaking principalities into a nation states under the democratic constitution. Following the German people are the people of Austria, the kingdom of the two Sicilies, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary and Russia. From the heavens above, Christ sends and angels gaze upon the scene. They have been used by the artist to symbolize fraternity amongst the nations of the world. So the thing which is important here is the three principles that was all based, right? The whole French Revolution was all based on the three principles. It was, we have discussed, equality, fraternity and liberty. Here we mean to say why this the whole revolution was all started, why we are talking about the nationalism in Europe, because at that time there was no nation, the idea of a nation was not there, and through this picture Frederic Soriot tried to identify the territory as a nation. So this is for the first time a painter presented everyone or the whole continent as a country. This chapter deals with many of the issues visualized by Soriot, the concept and practices of a modern state. Modern state, it says a modern state which we are living in. Now we are under a particular country, but at the time the concept, the idea of a country was not there, right? In which a centralized power exercised sovereign control over a clearly defined territory, like we are having our own government, but earlier it was a more elaborated government was there that has been taken over control all over the Europe or America. So there was no definite boundaries in terms of politics, in terms of geography, but a nation state was one in which the majority of its citizens and not only its ruler. So it was the citizens also who was important in a nation, came to develop a sense of common identity and shared history or descent. The commonness did not exist from the immemorial. It was forced through struggles, through the actions of leaders and the common people. This chapter will look at the diverse processes through which nation states and nationalism came into being in 19th century. So this the whole idea of this chapter is to focus upon the nation states, how the new identities, how the people they got the new identities which was very common based on their shared history and their geographical boundaries. This is the French Revolution. We all know, we have read in the previous class. French Revolution, who was the ruler? We all know it was Louis XVI when it was all started under Bourbon dynasty. So French Revolution and the idea of nation. So why French Revolution is so important in creating the idea of nation? The very first chapter, the very first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. You can recall the 1789, the date when French Revolution started. France, as you would remember, was a full-fledged territorial state in 1789 under the ruler of absolute monarch. So there was a king. It was Louis XVI. The political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of the French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to the body of French citizens. So the authority, so the administration was transferred basically from monarchy to the body of French citizens. That was the changes that happened in French Revolution. The revolution proclaimed that it was a people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny. From the very beginning, the French Revolution introduces various measures and practices that would create a sense of collective identity amongst the French people. The ideas of la patrie, it is the fatherland, and la citoyenne, the citizens, emphasize the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. And the constitution, we all know, 1791, the constitution, the France they've got, right? And after that, the people, they started getting some rights, especially the one who was having property. A French flag, the tricolor, was chosen to replace the former royal standard. The Estate General was elected by the body of active citizens and renamed the National Assembly. New hymns and were composed, oaths were taken, all in the name of the nation. So the idea of nation started emerging. A centralized administrative system was put in place and it formulated uniform laws for all citizens within its territory. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished and a uniform system of weights and measures were adopted. Regional dialects were discouraged and French, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. The revolutionaries further declared that it was the mission and the destiny of the French nation to liberate the people of Europe from despotism. In other words, to help other people of Europe to become nation. So somewhere or to the other, the French Revolution inspires the other nations as well to protest against injustice and to protest against the monarch and to have their own identity, to fight for their rights. Even the news of the events in France reached the other cities of the Europe. Students and other members of the educated middle class began setting up Jacobin clubs. So it was a very famous club. Who was the president? We all know it was Maximilien Robespierre, right? Their activities and campaigns prepared the way for the French armies which moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland and much of the Italy in 1790s. With the outbreak of the Revolutionary Wars, the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. So it was very needed, much needed at that time when the whole continent was very fragmented. Was the idea, we can say it was not the identity, the common identity was not there, when there was no idea of nation. So in this time, the French revolutionaries, the French people tried to put an example to protest against the monarch. Within this, within the wide strength of the territory that came under the control, Napoleon set about introducing many of the reforms. So here we all know there was some political instability was there in the France, okay, and Napoleon here took advantage of those instability and declared himself as the ruler. So somewhere or to the others, we can say that Napoleon Bonaparte destroyed a democracy, but he came up with some revolutionary measures that created a history afterwards, right? Though he destroyed a democracy, he came up as a dictator ruler, but worked for the betterment of the people and finally led to a new kind of feeling. We called it as nationalism and a nation states. He introduced his civil code of 1804, which was known as the Napoleonic Code as well, which under this code he came up with lot many reforms, administrative reforms, right, usually known as the Napoleonic Code. Here it is written did away many of the privileges based on birth, established equality before the law, secured the rights to property. This code was extended to the regions under French control. In the Dutch Republic, in Switzerland, in Italy and Germany, Napoleon simplified administrative divisions, abolished the feudal system and freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues. In the towns too, guild restrictions were removed, transport and communication systems were improved, peasants, artisans, workers and new business class enjoyed a new found freedom. We can say businessmen and small scale producers of goods in particular begin to realize that uniform laws, standardized weights and measures, and a common national currency would facilitate the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to another. So some restrictions was also been removed here by the Napoleon to flourish trade, and because of that, big businessmen, small traders, artisans, everybody got benefited out of this, because the restrictions was been removed. The restrictions was removed. After that, we can say the exchange of commodities, the exchange of ideas became so easy, and because of that, we can say the idea of nation that emerged. However, the areas conquered, the reaction of the local population of the French rule were mixed. The idea was very mixed. Some people, they welcomed those changes, some people, they were against of those changes, right? So this is it in the first part. We'll take up second part and let's see what will be there in the second part. Till then, thank you very much.